the question I have for this is like, I was a product of it, born in the 80s, late 80s, grew up in the 90s, and went to college in the early 2000s. Like, I don't remember things being like this, just kind of the origin or the evolution in this recent history, because it didn't feel like this when I grew up or
It
even
did
when I was
not.
in college.
It did not.
Not
No,
even that long ago.
it wasn't like this at all. In fact, and comedy is an interesting example of this because when I started comedy in about 2014, it was actually the opposite of what it is now. Like certainly in the UK, every comedian was doing the most offensive material that they could possibly think of. And that
Okay.
was like, you had to, like, if you did not have a rape joke, you like, what were you doing? Like, and it was almost like too much. I was not a
Yeah, no,
fan
I mean,
of that.
I'm laughing because that's ridiculous
Right.
that
But
that would be a thing.
that's how it was, right? So some adjustment was probably a good thing. And the fact that we're a little bit more sensible and sensitive about things like that is a good thing. But I think it really shifted with A, social media, and B, 2016. Um,
Hmm.
because one of the things I've observed about what social media has done to politics in particular is like, in the UK, we have this great political tradition, which is called Prime Minister's Questions. The Prime Minister, which is the leader of the UK, has to come to Parliament every Wednesday at 12 o'clock and take questions from both his own party and the opposition parties that are there. And it's a kind of Punch and Judy debating style setting. So it's very ritualized, and the people on his side roar whenever he's done a great, made a great point, and the
Right.
people on the opposite side, shake their heads and boo and whatever. It's a kind of ritualized debating chamber, um, and in the past, what it was always like was, generally speaking, it was quite combative and good natured at the same time. There was a certain set of rules. You didn't get personal. You didn't imply that the other party wanted to kill poor people because they'd come up with a policy that that affected people on the lower end of the income scale.
Right.
You argued that it was wrong, and you'd make a joke and you'd call them out and whatever, but you didn't act as if they were literally the most evil thing you could imagine. And then when social media comes in, it's amazing to go back and watch stuff from back then, because it's incomparable. You just can't compare, because nowadays none of them are actually talking to the people in the room. They're all playing to their own Twitter following. And that
Right.
means that the way they phrase and present and talk about these things is so hostile and so confrontational and so extraordinarily ungracious and unkind and completely lacking in any sort of humanity, which is fascinating, because as someone who does TV and radio, I often meet politicians, and behind the scenes, they're actually not like that. They actually don't think that the other party is, for the most part, is killing the poor on purpose or whatever. But they will say it because they know that it gets clicks. And I think social media, and then of course, Brexit and Trump were big culture war kind of explosions that I think triggered a lot of this, combined with social media.